Hey, welcome back to part 2 of how I pack for a trip video. Still a rainy day here on Hackberry Farm, and so I'm just trying to kill time indoors today, but the first video in this series I showed you how I pack up my roller case. You put a 500mm lens, a 70 to 200mm lens, a 24 to 105, some extension tubes, teleconverters, memory cards, all that stuff. Showed you how I pack it inside the roller bag. Now, one of the things I didn't show you was once I take the lens hood off, so the big lens, the 500mm f4 lens will fit in the roller bag. Then what do we do with this? Well, this is the next step. And so I've got, and this thing is ancient, but I've got this old Low Pro backpack that I still use. I've had this thing maybe 15, 20 years. Still works good, still zipper, it's got one zipper pull that's broke. As far as everything else is concerned, the stitches are holding well, everything on this pack is holding up well. So I continue to use it. Now, with that said, this is the next step in my packing. And so I start with an empty pack, of course. And so the first thing to go in is my tripod head, and then the lens hood. Now, usually what I'll do on this step is I'll just remove my tripod head off the top. Again, this goes in check bags under the plane. So when I'm flying, I will load this backpack up like this. Now, once I get my tripod head off, I just find a spot that'll fit in down here in one of these compartments, put it there. Now, my tripod legs, what I do is I will put that inside of my lens hood. But to start that off, and this is one of the things I do because it doesn't bother me if my clothes get a little wrinkled, I'll start with like some pants or something and put those in the bottom of the lens hood. I'll put the tripod on top of that, and then I'll stuff other clothes in around that just to give a little padding. And so I'll pad around the tripod, in between the tripod and the lens hood. Now, you know, as you saw in the last video, this lens hood is a little bit out of round on the end, so it fits on my lens pretty tight. And it may be the reason when I stuck it in here, I might have overpacked it or something happened, something got set on top of it. But once I've got my contraption put together like that, my legs inside my lens hood packed full of material to kind of keep everything tight, I'll go ahead and put the tripod legs down in there. Now, typically when I go on a trip, depending on where it is, if it's somewhere cold, I'll carry a few more clothes. If it's somewhere warm, I don't carry a lot of clothes. So typically at this point, I start putting in my essentials. And so essentials may include battery chargers. Find a place for those and stick them down in here. Aspirin and deodorant. Find a place for that, stick it down in here. Just try to stuff as much stuff as I can in here. Sat phone. What's great about these Low Pro bags is they've got a lot of compartment space inside the lid on it. So I'll put the sat phone in there. I've already got a sat phone charger here for emergencies. First aid kit I'll put in there. And so you can see I've still got plenty of room for socks. I can fold my clothes really tight. Like, again, I don't really worry about, you know, I'm going into the wilderness. I'm not really worried about, you know, wrinkles in my clothes. I can pack everything really tight throughout here. And then when I'm done, I just zip everything up, and this thing is almost ready to go. Now, one of the things I do as kind of a final step is these bags have these tightening straps on the side, these compression straps. And so I'll hook the compression straps on and try to cinch the pack down as much as I can, and even putting this top compression strap on. And just cinch it down as tight as I can in the end. And that way it just makes the whole package a little bit smaller. Now, when I'm done there, I'm still not done. For my check bag that I use on the airplanes, it's a Osprey, I think it's called a transporter, but it's a rolling duffel bag. And this backpack, I will put it inside the rolling duffel bag. And so the duffel bag is big enough, I can still put boots inside of the roller bag. I can put big, you know, heavier clothes like winter clothes if I'm going to Yellowstone or going to Alaska. I can put winter clothes in there. I can put quite a bit more things that won't fit, like clothing wise, that won't fit inside the backpack. I can still put them in the duffel, and that'll give extra padding around the backpack. And once all that's zipped up, I'll compress it. Typically, I can get on the airplane between 42 and 48 pounds, which is below the 50-pound limit, using that roller duffel, and it works out nice. Now, by packing that way, you know, you may be thinking, why don't you just carry this backpack on as your carry-on? Well, the reason is this backpack is a little bit big for a carry-on. I know you can buy other backpacks now that are smaller, but I haven't wanted to spend the money. This backpack still works fine, but when I get to wherever I'm going, If I can work out of my roller bag, I do, but if I can't, one of the things I'll do is I'll kind of pack in reverse. I'll take my roller bag, take all the stuff I don't need to take with me out in the field that day, out of this bag, put it in the roller bag, put the roller bag inside the transporter, almost like the Russian nesting dolls, if you think about those. And then that way I can load this backpack down with camera gear and I can take it out into the field when I need to. So, like I mentioned on the last video, the beautiful thing about photography and the beautiful thing about packing for a trip is there's a billion different ways to do it. I just wanted to show you the way I do it. It works out pretty good for me. I've traveled extensively, especially over the past 5 years, via airplane. And so I can go with a 3-pack setup when I go to the airport. I've got my check bag, again, which includes this backpack full of clothes, tripod head, lens hoods, chargers, everything else I need to go on an adventure somewhere. I can pack this as well as more clothes and more boots inside the rolling duffel bag. That's my check bag. I leave that first. And then my last 2 bags, I've got my Vanguard roller check bag that I carry all my camera gear in that gets put on the plane with me. And then the 3rd piece of gear I always take with me is my laptop. I carry it in a Carhartt laptop pack that just sling over my shoulder. I use it as my personal gear that goes under the seat in front of me. So by packing like that, again, I've traveled tens of thousands of miles all over the world. It seems to work pretty good. It's a pretty good setup for most kinds of photography that you'll do, whether it's landscape or wildlife, whether you're going to Botswana like I'll be going to later this summer, or if you're going to Yellowstone National Park. It's just you can take a kind of a 3-lens setup typically, and I've done more videos about that that'll really round out your kit. And you know, it's not I'd like to take all my stuff with me, but the fact is I can't. So that's how I pack for a trip. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'd love to hear what your comments are on how you pack, so leave them in the comments below, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.